Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Money and Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Sharika Alford, here with.
Anntricia Bray Smith.
We're here providing you with motivation to get out of debt, build wealth, and transform your outlook on life. Today, we're going to talk about credit and credit scores. Something seems like we hear about all the time, but then it gets to the point of, hey, what's the big deal? What you know about credit and credit scores, Anntricia?
Lies, lies. yeah, and now more than ever, I think it's really beginning to hit home and become a reality for us what uh, our credit score is and how important it is that we begin to pay attention to it, especially in a time to where everyone's shopping online, there's hackers everywhere, there's identity theft, so much that can be attached to that score that we can be absolutely unaware of and not really understand how that impacts us. And so, whether you believe it or not, I know many of you say, well, I don't have a credit score. My credit score is so low, or whatever. Uh, it's still something that you should consider taking a look at and create a plan on how to move forward, because your credit score is going to impact everything that you set out to do. No kidding, guys. It is even um, attached to you getting a job. You know, that job that you've been applying to for 3 years that you're more than qualified for? Do you realize that it could be your credit score that keeps putting somebody in that job other than you? They don't want to
Oh,
look
my.
at you if you do not have an adequate credit score of a certain amount. And so think about it,
Yeah.
even those college students getting out of college, they have the experience, they have what it takes, but the credit score is poor. They cannot land the job. This could be the missing piece. So it is important that we look at it. Many people don't know that. Many people do
Right.
not know that they're not getting the job because their credit score is 550, 600, 630, and they're looking for somebody with a credit score of 700, 750, 800.
Right. And if there's anyone out there who may not be familiar, the credit scores are what lending agencies tend to look at in order to determine what type of risk you were proposed to them if they were to loan you money. So, say if you want to get a car loan, or if you want to purchase a home, or even if it's a store credit card, the credit score, they pull your credit report and check your credit score to see how well you are with paying back what you owe, basically. And it's assigned to your level of risk. And so the credit score is important not only to determine if you get the loan, but what the loan terms are. So, say for example, if you have a what's considered a subprime credit score of say 640 or below, if they do give you the loan, more than likely you're going to have an extremely high interest rate
Absolutely.
associated with that.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you have say a 700 or above, which is considered good, and 800 and above excellent, that's that sort of score, then you would get the loan and have the lower interest rate, which in terms basically saves you money over time.
Absolutely. And, um, you know, we are the worst when it comes to poor credit scores, high consumption rates, and paying these high interests. They know where to find us. They're all in our neighborhoods. Let's just be honest about it. They're all in our neighborhoods, and guys, they're eating us up in interest. We're paying for the car lot. We're paying for the rent on the payday loan places. We paying their high salaries. through this high interest rates just so that we can say we have something, because they're going to give it to you. I mean, let's be honest with it. Bad credit, poor credit. They even advertise, put it in their advertisement. They're going to give it to you. But guys, we are the ones that are going to pay the cost. So we have to really get um, intentional with what does this really look like, and how is it impacting our families? How is it impacting our financial relationships and our financial future? Uh, and what can we do to just get started on
Right.
creating a plan? Really, it's where we need to look at.
Yeah, and I think that for starters, let's say you're someone who says, okay, I do realize my credit isn't where I'd like for it to be. I think a good place to start is to understand what makes up your credit score. So your credit score, it's made up of your payment history, the amounts that you owe on current loans that you may have, any new credit, the length of credit history, and the types of credit history used. So if your credit score is low, then either it's probably due to, you got dings in those areas somewhere, whether it's due to late payments or non-payments, or sometimes you could have a low credit score because of the lack of credit, simply because, that payment history and the length of credit history that's taken into consideration. So first, what I would say is pull your credit report. You can get a free copy of your credit report by going to the annualcreditreport.com. And used to, they would give you a free copy once a year, but because of the pandemic and the situation we're in, the credit agencies are now, you can order your credit report every week if you want to, and they'll grant that to you, and you don't have to pay anything for it. So first off, start with going to www.annualcreditreport.com and request free copies of your credit report. Once you get your credit report, be sure to look over it, because sometimes companies, they can make mistakes. They make mistakes. And if you notice something on your credit report that you want to dispute, then by all means, I would recommend that you call them, not only call them, but send a dispute in writing. Send the dispute in writing to the company, and also copy the credit reporting agency on your dispute, and they'll have to address that. So get your credit report, look over it, and confirm that the items on there are correct, and then start from there to determine what areas you want to start tackling first.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of reach back and talk to that little college girl or that little college young man, that college student that's graduated. And maybe, being in college and now you're not, but you had some financial hiccups with loans, with credit cards, uh, with financial aid, all that good stuff. That's not going anywhere. So let me just reach out to you right now. If this is you, and I just feel like it is you because it's just on my heart, just that heavy. Ignoring that, it's not going to go anywhere. Eventually, it's going to impact your uh, ability to receive income tax. It's going to impact your ability to move forward in your career. It's going to impact your ability to uh, get that dream home or live that life that you desire to live. So ignoring it, not having a plan, making the excuse or telling yourself that excuse that you don't know what to do,
Well,
it's not going to get it.
if
it,
you don't
it,
know,
it's, let's just be honest. It's not going to get it anymore. It's carried you to up to now. You're coming across our voice because you're coming across this podcast for a reason. It's time now to stop with the excuses and let's get intentional with creating a plan to deal with this, because it's not going anywhere. It's not going
right.
anywhere. It's going to do you more harm than good.
Yes.
Just ignore it.
And if you're just wondering, where do I start with the plan? Listen to our previous episode with Parthenia Walker. We did an episode over financial literacy. She provides an excellent free service. And when I say free, it means you can contact her and she'll consult with you at no charge, and she can help provide guidance as to where you can start based upon your individual circumstance, because that's the whole thing with personal finance. At a high level view, of course everything's just pretty broad and general, clean up your credit reports, spend less than what you make, invest and everything. But for your specific circumstance, you have to look at everything that you have going on and your obligations to determine what plan is going to work best for you. So definitely, if you need help, there is help available out there. It's just a matter of reaching out and contacting the right individuals to get that assistance.
Mhm. Also, Dave Ramsey, he offers or promotes solutions for those that coming out of college, and I think that's that Splash Financial, and so that's also another thing that you may want to look at. Look into Dave Ramsey on YouTube. It's easy to find him. He's there Monday through Friday. He even have some people that are there to help him, that can answer your questions, that they can get you started. But don't ignore it any longer. Let's just be honest with this credit score, because mom and them didn't tell you how important it was. You might be surprised when you looked at your credit score. You might be surprised that mama's and them credit was so jacked up that they use your name and your credit, and that you're not off to a good start. And so it's time now to be intentional. It's
Right,
time now to take control of the your financial future, because we don't know what the future holds.
right,
And what sad thing it would be to wake up one day and we have to be enslaved because of our financial history. And that's
mm,
basically what it is. It's just a history laid out, uh, financial obligations that we neglected to, whether directly or indirectly, take care of. And I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, I'm guilty. There are some things on my credit report that should not be there, that I need to uh, take care of.
right,
I know it's there. I need to create a plan to make sure that's taken care of before it leads me to a path that I'm not willing to go.
right. And
Uh,
if you've, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, honey.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and I know there's a lot going on this, in this year, everything that's going on with 2020. Um, Contact your creditors. If it's a situation to where you were paying, but say you lost your job, or just, there was a decrease in income within your home, or had health problems, whatever the case may be, reach out to your creditors, because sometimes it's just a matter of communicating with them. What you don't want to do is just totally disregard your obligations and not communicate with them, because that's when things get bad. So if you know that you're going to run into some problems, contact them and see if there's like a grace period that they can provide, or some other type of arrangements you can make. So just keep that line of communication open.
Girl, I just released a new book called Press Through 2020. It's
Oh
a
my.
journal of all the things that I've had to um, face, and challenges that I faced in the year of 2020. And chapter one, would you know it, is Press Financially.
Mm,
And guys, uh, it gives a personal account of not my past financial obligations and things that I've had to deal with, but in real time, the financial challenges that I've had to face in 2020 alone. So if 2020 wasn't already enough to break or bankrupt me financially, I certainly didn't need uh, what I've left undone to impact me on top of that. And so press through, it just gives an account that the things that we don't deal with, they're not going anywhere. It just
Right.
piling on. And eventually we're going to back ourselves up into a corner that it's going to be harder to dig out of than it was to get into. So look for that book. If you've dealt with something in the year of 2020, if you're still dealing with something as we're moving into 2021, get that book Pressed Through 2020. Check out my journal. I share with you in real time many of the intimate challenges that I've had to deal with. And one of those, you would be surprised of the financial giants that have came against me in
Mm.
2020 alone, not to mention what 2021 is going to look like, because it's not going to stop. It's still going to come strong. Believe me, if we haven't got our feet grounded in 2020, oh, we're going to blow over in 2021.
Oh
Don't
my.
think that 2021 is just going to come and say, oh, let me give you a break. No, you're going to have to build this muscle for the things that we are coming against in our
Yes.
coming days.
Yes, and we've talked about, facing your financial fears. We've talked about the emotions that are associated with looking at finances, but you know, it would better serve us to just try to, wait past, press through all that, you know, get past it, um, and start to put the work in. Because a lot of times the first step is the hardest step to take in anything. If it's something that we know that it's good for us, but it's still unfamiliar territory, or we may be feeling some type of way about it, it's always that first step that's usually the hardest. And I get it. I totally get it. Um, get you get you an accountability partner. If you have someone that you trust, a confidant, um, meet with them. Let them know, hey, I'm struggling with trying to get um, my credit better and fix some of these things. Find someone that can work with you. Get a mentor, to help you with your journey. But just like I said, just put forth the action. Let's do it. Like, the longer we sit and wait, the harder it's gonna be.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't take nothing for 2020. 2020 has been what it is financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. It has been what it's going to be. But there's been some great things come out of 2020 as well. As
Yes, like the
difficult
Money
as
and
it seems,
Mindset podcast.
as difficult as it seems, it's all in how you look at it. And
Right.
one of the things that I know that's important is our credit score. It's nothing
Yes.
worse than going into a bank, needing a loan just to pull those ends together and to take care of unexpected things that you need to take care of that you have not been prepared for financially. Maybe you're just starting this financial um, newness in this financial relationship or your financial health, and sometimes you have to get that loan. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do to make it happen, especially when things come that are unexpected. Maybe you don't have that emergency fund. There's nothing worse than going into that bank to talk to that uh, loan officer or whoever about a loan, knowing that your credit is jacked up. That feeling that it gives you, that you're almost in shame or have your head down because you've neglected to take a look at your credit score. You've neglected to take care of those financial obligations that you know you're obligated to take care of. Maybe you have a high debt to income ratio, and maybe your only other option is to go in and talk to somebody. It does not feel good knowing that you haven't done your part, or knowing
Right.
that you're not at the place that um, that you could potentially be rejected for something that you know that you feel like that you need right now to help. So what a great feeling to know that financially you've gotten your credit in order, and then you go and you sit in that same chair, and the freedom that you have knowing that you've done your part. You can hold your head up a little higher, you can speak a little louder, you can
Mhm.
ask boldly, to get that you need. So guys, it's something to think about.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're just joining us here at the Money and Mindset podcast, we're talking about credit and credit scores. Oftentimes, the question comes up as people are going through their journey to free up debt, free themselves from debt, rather. Once the credit card is paid off, do I close the account? Well, if it's a situation to where I'll say this, if you never, ever, 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 if you will never need any type of loan or financing ever again, then okay, that may be okay for you. However, I don't think that's the case for the majority of us. So, any credit cards that I've paid off, I keep the credit card account open. However, I don't use the credit card except for maybe once or twice a year. And then once the statement comes in, I pay it off immediately. So the reason why I do that is for two reasons. So even though the credit card's paid off, I don't close it because I want to show that credit limit as credit that's allowed to me. Um, Plus, it plays into the length of credit history. So the longer I've had that line of credit and the less amount of it that I've used, that's a good look for me. So I use it once or twice a year to get gas or something. And the reason for that is sometimes if you have a credit card and you don't use it for a really long time, the lien holder, the creditor, the bank, or whomever, they can close that account as a dormant account, and you don't want that because that would lower your credit score.
Yeah,
So if you go
that's
ahead.
another compartment to credit report and credit that many people don't understand, because they feel like, oh, I got this paid off, I'm going to close it. It does impact your credit score in a negative way when you do that, because your credit history, the longer your history is, the more positive impact it has on your credit score. And so if you're just building or establishing a credit history, when you close that, that has a negative impact, because now instead of having a 2 or 3 year history in building that credit line, now when you close that and you've had that for 2 or 3 years, your credit history may look like 1 or 2 years or half a year or something like that. So many people don't understand that. Close it, don't use it, or use it once a year, pay off the total amount, whatever that looks like for you. But you must really be wise in understanding how it's going to impact your scores by just closing it out altogether. Now, I paid off several credit cards here uh, in the year of 2020, but I did not close out those accounts because I know it has a direct impact on my credit history and my credit score, and I want that to look good.
Right. And another way that that plays into how you're ranked is as far as back to the amount of credit available to you, you want to keep your credit utilization or the amount of your credit that you use under 30%. So even though, let's say, you may have a 10, 15, $20,000 credit limit, you don't want to actually go and use your credit card up to the limit and try to use it beyond. You want to try to keep it below that 30% mark, um, because that plays into how they rank you with your credit score. So just to kind of sum it up a little bit, once the credit card's paid off, keep the account open, but put the card up and maybe use it once or twice a year to get gas or something. And as soon as the invoice or the bill comes in, pay it in full, and that's just to keep it active. And if you are using credit other credit cards, try to keep it under 30% of your
Absolutely.
limit.
And that was one of the things that I had to learn, because I kept my balance so high. And the only reason why you would even want to utilize it and have it high is if you had the money to pay it off. When I wouldn't have it high and continue to keep that high balance. So I don't know how one or the other impacts your score so much, but if you're using it because you have a high credit line, if you're not paying it off, I wouldn't use it more than I had the money to pay it off every month when that bill comes by. So if it's high and you're paying it off, I guess that looks a little different than if it's high and you keep your balance high and you're only making minimum payments. So um,
Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We just said a bunch of words to say, come up with a plan. Start looking at, what the conditions are. Start looking at what we owe. Pull your free credit report and review it to find out what needs to be done in order to improve it. So that's it for this
absolutely.
episode of the Money and Mindset podcast. Thank you for joining us.